Down Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who realized about 2 years ago or so that if Alex Hormozi got into mortgage, he'd dominate. Not because of mortgage knowledge, but because of business systems. And that realization shifted everything for him. He went from working in his business to building it, and now he's closing over 140 transactions a year with a team that scales without burning him out. So, Justin St. Clair, I want to welcome you to the Lowdown.
Awesome. Happy to be here, Connor.
Yeah, fantastic, man. I'm really excited to have this conversation. We've talked a little bit leading up to this, and I've just gained a lot of respect for what you have done to build systems and to support you so that really, if you were going to grow and do more business, it would just mean hiring one more person. And that was something that really stood out from the conversation we had. But just to kind of jump in, I think this is an important call out because you got to what I think is kind of like almost born on third base sort of start in the business, right? You started your career on a team alongside other top producers that were funding, over 100 loans or 100 million in volume. And I think that that's such a an advantage for loan officers. How did being in that environment from day one shape the way you think about what's possible in this business?
Yeah, I think that was instrumental to start on a big team. And I see a lot of loan officers now that they're not willing to sacrifice the time to be a part of a team because they want to make more money on the deals that they bring in. And what I find is that they sacrifice that experience. I'm a huge believer that volume negates luck. And the best thing that you can do when you start in the business is just simply get a ton of at-bats. And so when I walked into the business, I sort of got really lucky. Ended up getting hired by Dave Kammerer, who was a top producer. He was part of a core. He was a coach at the time. And so from day one, I just saw how it was done the right way. I didn't have to go through years of the pain of losing deals and relationships and not understanding how to convert and just do simple things like, manage a lead tracker. And so day one, I just really saw that you could, do a lot of volume and have a great team and have fun with mortgage, right? And I just see so many loan officers that are out there and they struggle because it's just, if they want to do more business, it just means more hours and more work and more pain. And so what happens is they're doing more business, but they're not really fulfilled and happy because they don't have a team, they don't have structure, and they're burning themselves out working too much. They've got too many problem files. And even though the money's good, they're not having any fun. And so what I love most about being a part of the team is able to just see this big picture of what it could be. And I don't know where I'd be today if I just started on my own and just slowly worked it up. I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't have the team and the structure I have now. I think eventually I would have got there, but being a part of a team, I'd say no doubt catapulted me 5+ years in the business right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's great, man. I see a lot of people struggle with this where they reach capacity. They know they can't really do more on their own the way things are designed around them and in the moment. But in order to gain capacity, there's a sacrifice that will need to be made, or they're asking the company, hey, help me out. Like I need an assistant. And so, but it's difficult, right? We're in a commission only gig. So taking that sacrifice means, and what if it doesn't work out and now I'm making less money on every deal? So I feel like there's a lot of people struggle with it for that reason. But I think when kind of like what you said, like when you grow up in it and you see the benefits of it, it helps you just sort of realize, okay, yeah, it'll be worth it. And then, I'll make it up on the more deals and the higher volume and the things that come as that follow.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing, Connor, is most loan officers will get to a point where they get through the tough stage, right? They start closing 3, 4, they start getting to 5, and then they realize I want to close more, but I can't, right? I only have so much capacity. So then they go to their company or they say, hey, I need a loan assistant, right? I need a loan partner. The number one mistake and the problem that I see is that I've seen a lot of these loan officers get a loan partner and they don't know what to do with them. They don't know how to leverage them. They don't know how to utilize them. And so they get frustrated because they're not closing more deals. They actually start closing less because now they've got this distraction They're not organized about it. And then they're sitting there going, why did I take on this loan partner? Because now I'm closing less deals and I'm just making less money. And for me, one of the massive benefits I'll never forget, I remember I got to this point where I was bringing in enough business that I felt very clear on my future. I said, hey, from day one, I've never thought of myself as being on a team loan officer, being a team loan officer forever. I want to grow my own team. And so when I broke off on my own, I got my own loan partner. And in the first month, I closed, I think, 12 or 13 loans, but it was just lock and step. I knew exactly what to do right out of the gate. It was team meeting. Here's your big three rocks for the day. This is what I need you to do, right? This is exactly how I need you to follow up with leads. And so I was able to leverage that loan off that assistant into more leads and more closings and then continue to grow from there. So that to me is the biggest thing about a team, is that if you're on the right team, you can actually see how to utilize and build a business rather than be a loan officer and just flounder by yourself.
Yeah, is that like the moment of building a team? Is that kind of where that mentality of loan officer to business owner, is that when that shift really started happening for you?
I will tell you where that really happened for me is a couple years ago, when I really shifted to business owner. I realized that I had a team. I had a couple loan officer assistants, and I was I remember being 20, 25 transactions at any given time in my pipeline. But what I was always struggling with was I constantly had fire files I was putting out. So I was always being dragged into my pipeline. It wasn't that I wasn't having my team do the right things, right? They knew how to follow up with leads and they knew how to convert leads, but everything flowed through me and I had nothing really dialed in as far as what the process and system was. And I wasn't treating it like a business. And so I got to this stage where I had some angst because in order to grow, everything had to go through me. Like I knew for me to grow, I had to spend more hours, work more time. Everything flowed through me. All decisions went through me. And I realized it was funny that you said Alex Hormozi, because I believe, I told you this off camera. I said, I realized one day I started reading $100 million leads. And as I was reading the book, I thought to myself, I know confidently that if somebody like Alex Hormozi tomorrow got into mortgages, within 3 years, he would be one of the top originators in the country. I have no doubt, because he would just treat it like a business. He would have scalable systems. He would process for every single thing. And what he knows is in order to scale a business, not everything can flow through him. The team has to be empowered to make decisions. The team has to be able to move just as fast as the leader, but they can't do that if they don't have clear ownership, clear direction, and clear systems.
Yeah. And so, kind of on that subject, something we talked about off camera was that you've structured your team where there's a LP1, a LP2, a processor, but you made a specific change about 6 months ago with where the handoff happened.
Yes.
And what was breaking before that, and how did the adjustment fix it?
Yes. Prior to this change, my setup was I had a loan partner one. Their job was to convert leads. So they would convert leads. The client would meet with me for a pre-approval appointment. Then they would be back with the loan partner one at that point. Loan partner one would tidy up the application, get additional documentation. They would go into contract. The loan partner would, finalize it, get it set up. They'd talk back to me. Then all of a sudden they would go to processor. So now a processor was calling them. And so what happened is within my team, because not everybody owned the role at the highest level, the client experience was that they just talked to too many people. And the feedback I was getting in the community is that I had referral partners that would say to me like, yeah, the client, they're not upset, it closed on time, but it wasn't the best experience, right? They just never felt like they got you and they weren't clear who they were talking to. So I knew I needed to fix something. And the biggest thing I needed to was to streamline the communication from the client consumer experience. So what I did was, instead of handing off the file after disclosure, I now hand off the file at pre-approval appointment. So my system now is I've got a loan partner one. Their only job is speed to lead. So they call quickly, they ask a few basic questions, and then they set up the pre-approval appointment. That pre-approval appointment, I meet with myself and my loan partner too, and that's where the handoff is. So while I'm in that pre-approval appointment, the client on Zoom or in person is meeting with both myself and my loan partner two, and I'm edifying my loan partner two as going to be the one to assist me at processing their loan. So while I'm going through talking big picture on rates, cash to close, terms, strategies to win, my loan partner two is right there tidying up the file. They may ask a few loose end questions for processing. And so when we leave that meeting, I start a group text and I say, your only points of contact moving forward are myself and my loan partner, Taylor. And so by doing that, it just streamlined the communication, 5-star reviews, closing early, closing on time, because truly we were really implementing more of a doctor nurse setup. And the client felt like they were talking to me throughout the transaction, even though a lot of times it's just my loan partner too jumping in to ask some basic questions. And it's helped me really actually be able to go back to the community, to some agents that I sort of lost a little favor with, and say, hey, I've changed my system. Here's what I'm doing. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. I love that. Right. So it's helped me really kind of dial back some of those accounts that kind of lost just because they weren't super thrilled with how things were going.
Yeah, I love that for you, man. So for anyone who's listening that's kind of interested in learning how to build out these processes, and do you have any resources that you would recommend, books, podcasts, people to follow? Like who are you sort of your inspirations on that?
Yeah, so for me, I'm part of Next Level Coaching. So that's always been a huge piece of it for me. I believe that anybody that's serious about this business, number one, you should always get into coaching, right? You should always be coached by somebody that you want to have a business like, or they do something really well that you want to ascend to. So number one, coaching. I would be a part of a coaching group. The second thing is there's a wealth of knowledge out there. There's podcasts like, so I listen to podcasts constantly, and I'm always looking for top producers and getting insight on how they structure their team or how they go and meet with real estate agents. And so there's just so much information at your fingertips. It's just, are you willing to be a student? Are you willing to get out there and find the resources available? So that would be my 2 cents on how to learn how to like set up the structure for you is number one, coaching. Number two is listen to how some other top producers are doing it. And I'll say this, Connor, there's not one right way to do it. There's a number of ways that are massively successful. I know top producers that do it a little bit different than me, or they change their handoff. I think what's important and what I learned is that you've got to be convicted on how you want to do it and what fits your style. And you've got to do it the same way every single time, and you can't deviate. I would say the biggest thing, Connor, is yes, I made a tweak to how I did it, but I got super convicted on this is how we do it every single time, and we never deviate from it. And to me, it's that consistency piece. And really what the clients were saying was they were getting inconsistent, like people were jumping in and out because there was a lack of consistency. I don't necessarily think that it was where I changed the handoff. That was more of a preference. It was more of that consistency amongst the team that really made a change.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's a great call out. So you made a comment about kind of going back to the market and reconnecting with some of your old clients or business partners. But even maybe before that, you had mentioned that things got a little stale for you for a couple of years because you'd gotten kind of in the groove and it stopped hunting for new accounts. Like, what was it that made you realize that? And then how did you move forward from there?
Yeah, so it's a funny thing. I see this sort of life cycle of a loan officer is what I've noticed. And when you first get in the business, you have no referral partners. So all you do is hunt every day, right? You are going to offices, you're cold calling agents, you're going to open houses, like you are selling your butt off. And then something funny happens. You start to generate enough business and you get where you're doing 3 and 5 and you continue to grow, and then you tend to grow a little bit more because you're doing a lot of transactions within the community, and so you get some more connections. But then what I've seen is that when you get to doing enough business where you make enough and you feel comfortable, you get a little complacent. And I think we can all get really complacent and we stop acquiring new accounts. We either stop acquiring new ones or we stop top grading the accounts we have. And I found myself when I look back for a couple of years, I wasn't continuing to go chase bigger accounts and bigger partnerships. And I really just got in a mode of retention. So just retaining a lot of my relationships. And then I'd be frustrated because then I look back, I'm just like, I'm just not growing. I'm kind of like doing the same units every year after year after year. And this last year, it really started to be so obvious to me that I had to hunt again. But I spent some time like getting my team in order, because I think what happens too is if your team's not really right and they can't run without you, if like you've got to be here in the office for your team to function, then you don't have a lot of time to go prospect. And I think that a lot of us loan officers, we grow to a point where we have a team and we want to be the hero and one fixing all the problems and doing all the work, but we really are, cutting ourselves off of the knees and not scaling and growing because we're just not acquiring new accounts. When you get the team that does things the right way and they can take care of the clients, then you can really be the rainmaker, go generate leads, and your client and your team can convert. Like my job right now, I'm crystal clear. My job is new referral relationships every day, driving leads. I built the system and the team so my team is 100% responsible for conversion and closing.
Great. So how do you coach the team, or how do you empower the team to where they're not feeling like they need to come to you for approval all the time, or asking questions they really already know the answers to? Like, how do you give them that freedom?
My style is I'm just direct, right? Connor, I would just tell you, if you're on my team, I openly tell my team, like, I encourage you to make mistakes. I can't coach you and I can't teach you if you make mistakes, but what I can't do is I can't have you be indecisive. Like being indecisive costs me far more than them just making a mistake. I can fix almost any mistake that they make. My job is to brush them off, pick them up, point them in the right direction, and push them on. And my rule is like, hey, listen, don't make the same mistake twice, but you 100% can make mistakes, because I can't teach or coach you unless you do. And I just make it crystal clear what I won't tolerate is them not making a decisive decision because they're afraid of making a mistake. That's far more costly to the team.
Yeah. I've even heard, like, on that point, like, when your team member makes a mistake, you can almost flip that into a positive, because it does give you an opportunity then now to step in and, demonstrate your expertise and say, hey, I've got this under control, and then take care of the problem. And now, your level of the trust level from that referral partner and that client goes up, because you're in good hands with Justin. So I love that you're encouraging that and just saying, hey, it's okay. It's gonna happen. So creating kind of a place for that to be okay. So something that we talked about kind of privately, and this is something I see a lot with originators as they start to produce more. It becomes a lot less about the income and the making the money, because you can make a lot of money in this business, but only so much of that is like life-changing money, and then it's like, what are we going to do with it, right?
Yes.
So how do you find that bigger purpose, or what are some of the things that are kind of driving you even now today, like towards, you know, uh,
Yeah. So this was something during COVID that I grappled with that was really difficult. Everybody during COVID, right? We were just printing money. It was almost like too easy, right? Like people were just calling you, everybody's making offers. We're all making just more money than we've ever made. And, you know, I would just personally, I say by and large, when you start making more than $250,000, $300,000, your life doesn't really change very much if you're making 50,000 versus 300 or 500, right? It all becomes somewhat diminishing returns. And yes, you can put more money away and build more wealth over time, but it doesn't necessarily change your life. I think it's super important that you have to find your why. Like, why do you do this? Because at some point, you have to decide what is the future that you want to manifest? What's the type of team? What's the kind of production that you want? And for me, when I took a step back and really thought about what is it that I really want in mortgages and in life in the big picture. And for me, it's not even the destination. Like, I don't know where I'll get to. Like, I don't really want there to be a cap. I'd love to produce 100 million, 150 million, run a really big branch. All I know is for me, what the joy is the everyday. Like, I love coming to work and building a team. I love getting my team members to grow and eventually become loan officers themselves, and coaching and passing on all the information and all the things that I've learned and instilling it in my team. Like, that's what gives me joy, right? Everything else, the money, the production, all those things are a byproduct of how well I can be coached, how well I can coach others. And it's really just the day-to-day joy of building and coaching up a team. That's my why. Everybody's why is different, but I think it's important that you find that why. And I can promise you it's not money. It starts with money, right? When you first get in the business, that was a huge driver for me. I was a golf pro before this. $1,000 a year, working 60 hours a week. It was definitely about the money. I got out of golf and got into mortgages because I wanted to make money and have a living and live more comfortably. But at some point for me, I lost the joy in chasing the money because somewhat was diminishing returns. So I had to really figure out what my why was. And I think it's important. I think most people have to, because to be the best version of yourself in life, you have to be very clear on what your why is.
Yeah, it's great advice. Kind of as we kind of get to the end here and start to wrap up, we've talked about processes, we've talked about teams. If I'm a loan officer and I say, Justin, I'm stuck at 7 loans a month, like what, in your opinion, is what's keeping me stuck there?
I would say what keeps most loan officers stuck at 7 is they lack system and process. So everything, so they are doing usually when you're at 7, you're doing all of it, right? You're doing the lead intake calls, you're doing all the pre-approval, you're disclosing files, and at some point you only have so many hours. So I'd say that anybody that's stuck, I would really encourage you to, number one, if you're not being coached, I would get into coaching, because without coaching and proper systems, right, you're not going to know how to build it out. You're not going to know how to leverage a loan partner. The second thing that I would do is I would go to your branch, or I'd go to your leader, or however, whatever your setup is, and I'd really fight to make sure you have a really good loan assistant that is only yours. If you're producing 5 to 7, I think a lot of times we use shared resources, and I think it can help, it can work, it's a model, but I think, if you're selfishly looking after you and your team and what you want to build, you need a loan officer that's only your loan officer, and get the coaching and figure out how to really utilize them and leverage them so you can spend more time obtaining new accounts and doing the things that really make money and shift into the money making activities and not the tedious work.
Yeah. Does it, the emphasis on them only being yours? I mean, I know some people might hear that and go, man, but that's going to set me back, resource wise, going to set me back financially. I don't know if I can, validate that, but is that really what's going to be the thing that unlocks the ability to kind of move up into where you're doing 10, 12, 13, 15 loans a month?
100%. The only way to scale is you got to have a great team. You can't. You're going to be capped. I think a loan officer going solo could do 5, 7, have a killer month and get 10 once, but it's not sustainable because you just don't have enough hours in the day. The only way to truly get there is to have that loan assistant. And so, but it's a dangerous sword. You kind of alluded to it, right? And I've seen this happen where loan officers get an assistant, and what they do, instead of utilizing that time to replace it and go do more green time and more sales, they spend more time going to the golf course and getting a quick 9 holes in, right? Because now I've got somebody to do all this other work, but I'm not utilizing my time effectively to go do the things that are going to move the needle. So what I would say to anybody that's like, well, I'm worried, right? I don't want to spend this money or this investment. To me, I look at it as it's 100% your choice. If you get a loan partner assistant, if you do the activities that you're supposed to do, you'll grow. If you don't, you'll spend money and you'll be stagnant, right? So it's your choice.
Yeah. So, last question. Thinking about the future, looking ahead, what are you kind of focused on from either a skill development standpoint or tools, resources, things like that? Like, what are you focused on to that you feel will be essential to a loan officer in the future?
Yeah, I think right now what I'm working on are 2 things. Number one, refining my skills as a loan officer advisor. So being a loan advisor, I think it's important as the future goes along with AI and all this technology. Loans are going to be a little bit more of a commodity. They are going to get easier. They're going to get easier to process. I think it's going to be vastly important to be able to separate yourself and advise clients from a mortgage standpoint on wealth generation. And then the other thing is getting better at selling to the many, right? So whether it's social media, large presentations like homebuyer classes, webinars, I think that's what's going to win in the future. I think the loan officer that can sell to the many and be a wealth advisor when it comes to mortgages are going to be the differentiator. I think the days of one-on-one coffees and going to get a couple leads from agents here and there, I think those are going to get harder. And if you can't separate yourself, loans are going to get easier. So it's not enough to just say I close loans on time and I've got good communication. That's not a separator anymore, right? You've got to differentiate yourself. And I think being really incredibly good at the face-to-face presentations and advising them on wealth, and then just being able to get out in front of lots and lots of people. I think those are the 2 things you're going to have to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we've got to amplify your voice, get out there in front of more than, I mean, the resources are there, so if you're not doing it, someone else is. And they're just beating you to the punch. And so then you're already, playing from a disadvantage. So I think it's a great point. Justin, I want to thank you for being here on the lowdown. It's been, awesome having this conversation with you. I know you've added a lot of value to people and anyone who's listening. I'm sure hopefully they learned a thing or two from you because you said a lot of really great things. But I just appreciate you. And if there's, I want to let you know I'm cheering for you. Is there a way others may, if they want to look you up or reach out to you that they can find you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm easy to find on social media. I don't know if you've got links to this, but I can get you my email and number. I mean, if I'm fully accessible, if people want to reach out to me, I'm fully engaged.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you being here. Best of luck to you.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks for having me.
You got it.